Daniel saying that we are going to create more polished guide. And what I'm not sure about is who are we in this context, because the pull request is mine, but I haven't done a whole lot improving it in the past 2 weeks. And we are right at the end of the 2 weeks mentioned in the comment.
I think for that issue, the problem was that, uh, at least the problem that I saw was that it came up with the arewegamedevYet.com has the unopinionated version of the ecosystem guide, and then we can't be opinionated, so we would just also have an unopinionated guide. And I'm not sure if that's worth effort compared to just occasionally putting things on Are We Game Yet. So yeah, so I'm not sure how much of an ecosystem guide we should be offering. Maybe we should just put effort towards Are We Game Yet instead of hosting our own guide.
I see. Okay, so there's no consensus over whether we need the guide in the first place, and it's not clear how the guide would fit into the approach of not being opinionated at all.
Correct.
So that's part of the reason why no work has been done on the guide. We don't know if we'll need it.
Can I interject an idea that I had about that?
Sure.
I feel like the Are We Game Yet mostly is just a list of the history of all of the possible crates that have ever been released that relate to games. Whereas if we're looking at the state of the ecosystem, I feel like we should do a more targeted and more data-driven approach where we say, okay, let's draw up what we actually want in games in order to be able to make games. So like which components of an engine do we need? We need the graphics part, we need the map libraries, and so on and so on. For debugging, what kind of tools do we need? And if we have those different categories sorted out, and then specifically for those, we say, okay, what requirements do we have per grouping? And then we rate, or not even rate, we just see whether the different possible crates that exist qualify for specific features. And then at least we have some sort of overview of what every crate does and can do. And that gives some more insight, at least, into what the state is and what is missing at this point from different crates, and maybe we can combine crates, or we can interact with the maintainers of crates and ask, okay, why is this feature not there? Is there something in the language which we could add or change for you to be able to support these kind of things?
So,
I
okay,
like
go ahead.
I like that, but the owner of Are We Game Yet commented in the ecosystem issue saying that they would be willing to accept guidance from us on ways to improve the website, like putting packages in like a table where you can sort by whatever column you care about, or something like that, or presenting them in a randomized order so as to avoid favoritism or something. Um, so yeah, we can definitely PR that repository in that direction. Unfortunately, as far as something that we host ourselves, I don't know if you read, but in the charter for this working group, there's a specific line item that we are not supposed to advocate any particular library over another. So we're not supposed to be giving opinionated advice, even if that opinion is what you might call mostly objective.
Gotcha. There's like no way though to not, even if we say we ask the maintainers of the crate themselves to list the features that they have in a BIOS predefined desired list of features, it would still be opinionated because they would be opinionated towards it, right?
I agree.
At that
Well,
point,
that's in theory. Like they could be opinionated, but we can find maybe a reasonable common ground with the authors and come up with a list of features that we agree on. I mean, we are not adversarial to each other, right? In the ecosystem, we should put some trust into the authors.
Yeah, precisely. And I feel like the way we could go is the same way as the scientific community does it, and we could be peer reviewed, where we say other people can review what features are in this, and then based on a consensus from them, that's what we list, and that's as objective as we could get, I feel.
Yeah, if we allow a crate author to have like final sign off on what we write down for their crate, that seems fair enough.
Okay, so it comes down to better organization of the crates that RBGame yet exposes or something else exposes. And
the biggest issue is how recent a crate has been updated. It needs to be a little more prominent because there are crates from like even pre 1.0 Rust that are put side by side with modern, like were updated last month crates. So we need to organize is the biggest thing.
mm-hmm.
So I guess for that, like, well, sorry, go ahead, Dimitri.
I just wanted to stress out on the work of this group um, seems to be good for this group to draw those horizontal lines between the crates. Like our game just drops a number of crates on you, but what we can do is just classify them on like the issue classification proposed with peer reviews, and that's precisely what the group could do in the framework of its charter.
I
Yeah,
agree.
issue classification is definitely exactly what we're all about.
I think one piece that's missing from Are We Game Yet is also just how various crates relate to each other. So I found Icefox's obviously opinionated guide useful for that, just showing how the ecosystem is related through all these different crates.
Right. So there was an issue where we discussed that, right? And I'm trying to find it now. Um, I made a proposal there, and in the proposal example, like how are we describing a crate? The way to solve that problem, Josh, that you are saying was the tech stack. I called it. I'm trying to find. Do you have a link to that somewhere? Okay, where was it? I'm going to look for it. But the point is that for each crate, we would tell what it's built on, so that you can instantly see how things are related to each other.
So like you'd say that it uses Winit and like Glium or GFX HAL or like what the backing libraries are.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely very important for people to know. We should put that.
Like not all of the dependencies, just like the core pieces. Like we are not gonna, if it's GFX with some backends, we're just gonna say GFX, or if it's Winit, we're just gonna say Winit and not like gluten and Winit and something else. So it's substantially smaller than the full list of dependencies, and you should be instantly get a rough understanding of what the crate does.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the other part is compatibility. Just knowing that when it is compatible with this other graphics crate or SDL2 is compatible with this crate.
Mm-hmm.
I think the example that I had in mind was the game engine architecture book has an overview of like what a game engine on a global level could look like with the different components such as physics, HID, audio, online, core systems, etc., etc. And if we classify it in that, then you can also get the interdependencies between those layers, and you can the current ecosystem, like Amethyst, mostly consists out of these loose components, and then we can also get an idea of which components are still missing, and we can try and figure out why they're still missing and try and find solutions for that.
I like it. When you say game engine architecture, you mean like the C++ book, like up on Amazon and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. There was also an issue that I have kind of languished about making a game engine architecture book that is Rust specific. That's a very long-term project to
I'm talking about the Jason Gregory book. I think it might not actually even be.
Yeah,
He has like his yeah.
it gets mentioned in that issue. But yeah, you mean the one that's already out.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that point. So what are you suggesting to classify and how? I'm trying to do some notes on what we're talking about.
I posted a screenshot of there's an overview in the book, which is a very high level overview of different systems and what subcomponents could be in those systems. Um,
You posted a screenshot where?
in the Hangouts messages.
Oh, I see now.
So like if we could come up with an overview of the different systems that we need, for example, for asset pipelines, for audio, for graphics, HID, input, like whatever systems would be necessary. If we have an overview of what's already there in the ecosystem, we can figure out which parts are still missing to be able to create a full game experience, and then see, okay, are there issues that we as a working group could work towards that would actually enable people to make these components.
I see now.
Yeah, this is a really good map, I guess you could call it, of the kind of places that we want to go. I think we're still struggling with the core systems way down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this is a bunch of things that we could do. I tried to make notes of them. It is not a guide, but it is a bunch of useful improvements to the Are We game yet.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we can go to the next topic, or is there any more to this one that maybe someone wants to express the opinion?
Maybe it might be good to say, like, if there's anyone in particular who would be interested in taking on this issue, to like at least appoint someone who's trying to make sure that we keep making progress towards this.
That would be great.
Can we nominate
There is
you?
a lot. There is a lot to figure out still. As in, like, there is a lot we can do, and not clear how to pick people responsible for particular pieces. Like, it's still, the design work is still needs to be done. Maybe we can like drop these ideas on GitHub issue, let it bake for a few days, and then we'll see more actionable items coming out of there.
That works.
Unless you want to volunteer, and you're all good to go.
Yeah, sure. I'd be willing to do it. Like, if people think that this is a good way to go to come up with the different systems, then at least I have an idea of like what direction to go in.
So specifically, you're referring to the mapping crates to this graph and seeing which pieces are missing, or are you referring to some other points?
So
This
the
one?
issues that I heard so far was like the fact that there's out of date crates and so on. So like trying to come up with a filter for that, and maybe having a filter for saying we want specific Rust versions onward. Like those are things that we could start working on already. And then the other thing was the horizontal classifications. So coming up for indeed these different categories, what are features that we want, starting discussions on those. Those are things that I come up with from the discussion that we just had, what we would want to change at least.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right. So the next issue we have is about the roll window handle, and it's been released. Too bad that we don't have OSPL here, but I can give a small update that we are converting GFX to use it, and we've already converted WebGPU to use it, even though GFX doesn't. So WebGPU released today, and it's using row window handle, and it's no longer having a dependency on WinIt. It's a huge win. I think the whole idea behind building this was brilliant, and I'm very satisfied so far with how it works. It's not ideal though. One point that our contributor brought up was about the CA metal layer and the fact that row window handle does not expose that. But I don't know if we have the right people on the call to discuss this problem. We can just continue discussing it on the issues.
Yeah, I think Viral also said that they spotted, I don't know if you're talking about the complaint that Viral had or that someone else had, but Viral said that there were a few other things that needed to be added before we can fully disconnect all the GFX backends from directly using Linux. But that's in the issue tracker already, I guess.
I think the last part Varl was talking about was being able to hook up to GL.
Yeah.
So both WebGL and OpenGL.
Yeah, so there's an issue with GL that is not resolved, and an issue with the metal and core animation metal layer that is also not clear yet what to do with it.
Okay, so later I will make sure that those are actually issues on the window handle repository itself, so that we can keep that clear.
Mm-hmm.
So I can do that if no one else wants to do it.
Please, thank you. Okay, issues. All right.
If I remember correctly, GFX does also use this UI view stuff from iOS and macOS for surface creation, but also if the portability extension for Vulkan uses the C metal layer, so it's actually extracted or created from these UI view structs.
Right. Right. There are ways to initialize metal, and GFX exposes all the ways. You can give it a view and it will create a layer, or you can give it a layer. The Vulkan extension uses only the layer, but it's fine. It's completely, like, it's not related to the row window handle, because the Vulkan extension will only need to be supported by GFX portability, which will call into GFX. So it's a private matter for this piece. For the rest of the ecosystem, I guess they can just give us the window views, and we can just grab the layer and do what we need to them. So it's not clear if we actually need any support for CA metal layer. It's just, it seems like it would be nice, but it's not a requirement.
So it would basically be either these metal or iOS specific views or these metal layer itself. Then,
Possibly.
so that's like the discussion here, or just trying to understand the the possibilities a bit, because currently it's like supports metal and macOS and iOS, but not via this low-level metal layer stuff.
Just to clarify for Daniel, this issue is already on the project, and it's been filed today.
Oh, okay.
It's the issue that our contributor complained about, not the OmniViral's complaints. I don't know if they are on track as well. So the issue, I'm gonna post it here if I'm succeeding. Okay, do you see the issue here? Yeah, so we'll just keep discussing. It's not something that we can probably solve here, and it's okay right now. Like, we are not in an emergency situation where this is blocking any kind of graphics integration. No, like, it's fine. We can work with what there is now. So that's pretty much our agenda for today. That's a surprisingly small agenda.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask something.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any work on gathering up some of the issues that potentially could be raised to the language team, either from the work group repository or from the Embark repository?
Embark repository, I don't think so. I saw that was posted in the Discord chat. I didn't go over all of the issues there. I don't know if anyone else did, but issues there did not get any attention in the Gamedev workgroup issue repo. So I think maybe no one has read over that yet. In terms of Gamedev workgroup issues, most of the issues there have been, so far, things that we can solve with crate, not anything that we have to go to the language team to say, please solve this blocker. One thing is that I've been trying to move some more math functions into from libstandard to libcore, which has been more difficult than I would have initially hoped, but progress is being made. So that's the closest thing to a Lang team change that we've encountered and had to do.
I've made my own list. What's the best way, do y'all think, of sharing that? And do y'all think it's worthwhile at this point to try to gather a list like that, or is it too early?
I think a list is definitely, having a list is better than not having a list. If you, depending on how big each list item is, you could possibly put the whole list as a single issue in the Gamedev working group issue tracker. If you feel like there are particular bullet points that are like definitely going to be big enough to warrant their whole issue, just make them off just break them off onto their own issue. We don't run out of issue numbers, so it doesn't hurt to have each conversation be focused.
I think there's value in collaborating on a list of things that we need, because we have similar needs in a lot of cases, and having been represented as a big body of a game dev working group gives us more chance for these issues to be looked at than if everybody just submits issues separately and tries to convince the Rust core team to fix them. So I think we could have a wiki page with just a list of things that we think are relevant to game dev and we want to be fixed in the language or the standard library. Would you be willing to put your list as a basis for the wiki so that we can then add our stuff and maybe refactor it a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I've already got my own personal list, and yeah, do you want it in the GitHub issue?
So we need to give you access to the wiki. I think I would prefer that most. But I don't have access myself. So we're gonna ask Alex to give us all access to the wiki, and so that we can do something.
And I think currently all of the issues are basically totally unlabeled. I think we could, now that we have some of them, we can start making more label categories. Uh, the the meeting agendas ended up getting like a meetings tag, and everything else is untagged. So that would help organize our thoughts as well.
So are you suggesting to have an issue in our repository for a missing core issue that we are discussing here?
No, I meant in addition to editing the wiki, we can also tag issues with different labels to help people that go to the issue tracker sort of be able to look around.
I see.
An alternative to using the wiki might also just be to keep a markdown file with links to all of the other things, because if people have separate lists already, one thing I saw that Embark did is they have just a particular file that contains links to all of the different issues that they've come across, even in different crates and so on, that need to be resolved. So even if there's interdependencies with other crates, we can in that way list them all up.
Yeah, and just
And
PR that into the repo.
yeah, because it prevents duplication. Because if there's like different teams or different people that have the same problems, having one central point to go back to might be easier than if we keep different lists in different places.
Okay.
But then people would need to do like pull requests to change this file.
Yeah.
Is that does that have any benefits versus like a single wiki page with all the lists? With
Well,
all the items, sorry.
anyone can do a pull request. Not everyone can change the wiki, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That sounds good. Let's do it.
I'll just take my current list and dump it as an issue in the work group, and then it can get migrated there. If that sounds good.
You can dump it as a markdown file in the repo, and we can discuss it.
Oh,
Yeah.
like as a PR?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
PR as a markdown file.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. All right. So now there is a good chance for anybody to like ask what bothers them, or if no questions there are, then we can just end the call earlier.
I think it was either Philip or Remco said that they do embedded development, and I had a problem trying to move square roots to core. I need to be able to like call the core intrinsic for square root F32 and F64, and then look at the assembly output that LLVM generates before they will let me PR it. And I need to do this for some of the obscure architectures that like Godbolt won't cross compile for, and like I don't have the files to cross compile for that. Does anyone here know how I would build on a MIPS machine or a RISC machine or a PowerPC? I know it's a bit of a long shot, but I thought I'd ask.
And I think it was either Marcus or Philip, because I wouldn't have an idea how to do it.
I'm embedded, but not with Rust. Sorry, so
Oh.
I can't help you.
Okay, well, it was worth a try. I'm sure I can ask somewhere.
You can't VM PowerPC?
I might be able to VM PowerPC. I haven't tried setting it up yet. I was able to go through most of the CPU architectures just using Godbolt and then like specifying a target file, and it would spit out some bits of assembly. But there were a few architectures that it would not, that it wouldn't produce for. So I still have some work there.
Gotcha.
All right. So I'm gonna follow up on the meeting issue with very, very few notes on what we just agreed on, and we're gonna continue discussing on GitHub from there.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for attending.
I had one more question. Sorry.
Okay.
Regarding the console support, it mentioned that like we can't really do anything about it because it requires NDAs. But why would there be a reason that we couldn't have someone who starts working towards that with them if we have the industry connections? That is, of course.
If we had that connection, I'm sure we could. I've looked at the Nintendo NDA, and at least with Nintendo, they want you to, like, once you start doing any Nintendo specific work, you're supposed to do it on their Nintendo developer forums, only with other people who have also signed the Nintendo NDA. And you're not supposed to share that. Like, so I could say, hey, I need this so that it works on Switch, but that's the extent to which, like, I can't really say much more than that, for example.
Okay. Gotcha. So then individually, we just have to, people who are interested, contact them and then start working on it, but we can't really share anything with the rest of the game dev working group.
No, I know that the guy that does SDL2, for example, has SDL2 works on Switch. He ported it recently, and if you can like PM him on Twitter, and he will send you the link to the Nintendo Forums topic where you can download the source for the Switch version and stuff. But like all the stuff for Nintendo has to go through the Nintendo Forums. And
Okay.
I guess if there's enough people doing Rust on the Switch, then we could have some topics there that we refer each other to, but you know.
Gotcha.
Oh, Dimitri, how did the WGPU stuff go?
Which one?
I saw that you were trying to make it automatically detect the right backend.
Oh, it's a huge amount of work. It's gonna be like a big rewrite. So it's gonna take maybe 2 more weeks to finish, depending on what else I do at this time.
Okay, we'll check back next meeting.
Sure. Sure. All right. So thanks everyone again, and hope to see you next meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you too.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks.